Hey everybody, welcome back to an episode of Ships and Giggles. So it's business, and I've been out for a while dealing with acute pharyngitis with asthmatic complications, and essentially I've had a low-grade asthma attack for the last month, and then the amoxicillin antibiotic that was prescribed to me put me in the ER because of a highly inflamed and just... Jesus Christ, what a horrible experience. Highly inflamed digestive tract, let's leave it at that, shall we? And yeah, it's kind of caused some complications as far as, you know, I can barely have the time to talk because I'm coughing all the goddamn time, and it's cut into the stream, it's cut into making these videos because, I mean, I've had some of this stuff just sitting around and waiting, and when I'm streaming, half the time I'm like, if I'm not talking, the chances are I'm coughing, but yeah, so back to it. Just wanted to give you an update on that, of course, but I'll be going down that rabbit hole of my health here, and it looks like everything else has actually turned out great. Like, as far as the blood work, blood pressure, I'm apparently very, very good there, so yay. But looking at these dev strikes here, what is the common factor, aside from me being in the battleship? They're all British cruisers. And that is exactly why I will not play the goddamn things, because they get caught with their pants down, whether they're seen or not. And I don't agree with the implementation of these particular ships. I just think it was piss poor, and all it did was slow the game down even more, because now we have everybody hiding in the smoke, and now we have... You know, what do? Nobody can do anything until, you know, they get spotted by radar. Well, here's the thing. This is a learned skill, being able to shoot at targets in the smoke. Because when they're firing, they're giving away their position. You don't have to see them to be able to damage them. So learn how to, you know, adjust for that and shoot just below where the shots are coming from. And then you'll see that people will start to move around a little bit in that smoke, because they keep getting nuked. And here's a nice little brawl, and the only reason I'm in this situation is because if you look at the minimap, I've got 5 teammates off to my right. So I knew that Montana wasn't going to have the chance to open up his guns against me, and luckily he didn't do more damage to me sorry, than he would have been able to do, possibly. I damn near dev struck the turpits there, 38,000 damage on 12 shell pens, and I'm pretty sure a couple of those were overpens, because I definitely have done more damage than that against like a Kurfürst, actually, and a Friedrich. I've done over 40,000 damage salvos without a Citadel on them, with you know, 10 shell pens and a couple overpens, that sort of nonsense, even though we all know that the shell ribbon thing there is basically a lie, the detailed shell ribbons. So or at least inconsistent in actually reporting what's damaging and so on and so forth. But anyways, here's a derpy moment. Very, very long range detonation on a Zao, and then I take it to work. That was stupid. But you know, it really isn't just the British cruisers that suffer against a well-placed shot, and of course dispersion. I say this time and time again, dispersion dictates everything. I could have rolled shit dispersion on that, and I never would have hit him, right? So, but it's just one of those things that I have no interest in playing the Royal Navy, and I don't have any interest in playing the French cruisers. They're not for me, and despite having played a lot of ships, and here's an interesting little statistic for you on my stats. I've played over 5,700 battles with since the game has gone live in September of a couple of years ago, right? Well, I haven't played over 270 matches in any ship. That's pretty damn good, and I'm actually pretty proud of that. And this particular Iowa player is probably why people with Iowas on their team tend to lose, because he just stayed broadside. But we do have patch 6.8 going live today. Now, this is pretty interesting because we have super containers getting a buff, thankfully. Unfortunately, special upgrades, which should be attainable through missions or that sort of thing, are not going away completely in the super containers, which I think is a huge mistake, but whatever. Speaking of which, they now will be adjusted around a little bit on the module slots. This, I think, is going to have a pretty significant impact on the high tier, and you know, in terms of radar duration and that sort. So the Khabarovsk is getting, I think, a very fair approach to toning it down a bit. The torpedoes are being shortened to the stock torpedoes, and it's going to basically push it to being even more focused on the guns. The high-tier carriers are going to be more susceptible to destroyer gunfire, which is awesome. Indianapolis gets a detectability buff, but unfortunately it gets a radar buff, which I don't think is a good thing at all, but not at tier 7. Secondaries, though, on the German battleships, the 88s and the 105s are getting a small damage reduction. I mean small, and they're getting what should be a noticeable reduction in the fire chance. However, to compensate for that, they're buffing the range on basically everything, and the Kurfürst is actually going to even fire faster than it did before. For the one of the secondaries, 128 millimeters, I think, are going from 5 seconds to 4 seconds. Come on. I love my German battleships, and especially when they nail Montanas like that, which I think, by the way, the Iowa and Montana are way more susceptible at range now with the lowered Citadel, but that could just be me. I really don't agree with that. I don't think this game needs more smoke, and it doesn't need more secondary range on anything, ever. You know, we're at the maximum with that, and I really hope they revert those changes, because it's just one of those things that, I don't know. I don't know what really compelled them to change that, but I guess we'll see how it turns out. I think a lot more people are going to take IFHE, and that may or may not be a good thing, depending on what you're rolling. But 21 kilometers away, there's Des Moines. Got my rear turrets to fire over at him, and we've got an interesting situation here. You know, so it's pretty much a tie game at this point, and booyah, 28,000 damage there at close to max range against the Des Moines. So now, remember what I said about the smoke and how people will learn how to like move back and forth in it while firing instead of just staying still, so they're not gonna get nuked. Well, that's exactly what's happening here. This is actually Timmy G, and I have to definitely take him seriously, because it's not just a Khabarovsk doing that to me. It's a good player in the cab, and I gotta make sure that, you know, I've got my wits about me, and, you know, I can make sure that I'm in a position to be able to help myself, or try to get other people around me to help myself. And remember what I said about the Montana seeming a bit weak at range? Yeah. I've had a lot of salvos like that from the Montana. I've done, you know, at the epitome of max range and stuff, I've done huge salvos. And this is the second salvo against this specific Tirpitz that has created some remarkable dispersion, and I just haven't been able to find the right spot there. Now, a Cyclone hits, and this is a really interesting match, because I'm already doing great as far as damage is concerned, right? And I'm not the type of person to shy away from a fight. However, when you take a look at the mini-map, you'll see a lot of little mistakes here and there that really complicate a match that... Let's just put it this way. What the fuck happened? Alright, so we have Timmy G over here in this cab, and trying to get some shots off against him. He's taken a few extra hits, and again an overpen, and then some more damage there. So ended up doing about 8,000 damage to him there, thankfully with the shell pen. Now, I get spotted, you know, of course within the Cyclone, by this Neptune, and he's creeping around, and I'm not expecting to be able to see him again. But for some inexplicable reason, I mean, what the hell are you thinking? So, yeah, that's just ridiculous. I mean, I know he was launching torps at me, or he was trying to, so I'm trying to position myself in a manner that would be able to hopefully prevent the torpedoes from hitting me, right? Well, that's when the Donskoy appears, and now again I have to worry about torpedoes. It's actually something I tend to forget about against a Donskoy, but look at this. Right when my guns are reloaded, and he gives me every opportunity to do the same damn thing to him. So back-to-back dev strikes, I'm feeling pretty good about that. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like my team is wanting to commit to pushing in. And this is something that happens quite a bit when it comes to a Cyclone. There's passivity involved at any tier, of course, but sometimes the mentality of like regrouping and stuff is kind of lost on people. You don't have to be in the solid force to be able to make something happen, and you're going to see this in the last clip that we have too. But I'm going up against this Bismarck, and I know there's more stuff over here. You can see that smoke just popped. That's the Fletcher. That is really not good news for me. And then there's the Des Moines. I was trying to get all cute with this shit here. Seeing if I could nuke that Des Moines, and amazingly I only get 7,100 damage against him. I was really hoping for you know, going 3 for 3 against the cruisers. That would have been hilarious, but unfortunately I don't get the shot that I was hoping for there with the Bismarck with my front turrets. Sorry, you could probably tell when I'm about to have one of my coughing fits there, so yeah, hopefully this is something I can get squared away soon. But anyways, yeah, so managed to get the Bismarck there, but I get nailed by the Montana, and here come the torps from the Fletcher. So I screwed this up because I could have been better positioned by throwing all my weight against the Bismarck when I had the chance to. But anyways, what you're seeing here is the mini-map during the last few minutes as it is anyways. So the Donskoy really should have stuck with the Amagi that pushed into C, and the Gearing could have stuck with me. That would have been huge. But unfortunately, we are now giving this game to them. So now it's 4v4. We lost our Gearing, lost another, well, the Amagi, and, well, we finally managed to get one of their ships down, but it's 4-on-3. We got torps from our Gearing going up against the Montana there. Doesn't look like it'll kill him, and our Donskoy is rushing right in. He's low health, he's going to go broadside. We just lost our Gearing, and we have our Bismarck moving in as well. So apparently the Donskoy's got to just absolutely have to get those torpedoes off, and he gets taken out. And we still have a full health Yamato, and somewhere out there a Fletcher to deal with. So the Montana goes down, it's 2v2. This should not have happened at all, and this is one of those things that here we see nice damage going against the Yamato, and he returns that in kind to the Bismarck. And just as I switch away here, as our Kutuzov is moving in, and he obviously can't launch torps for a couple reasons, but our Bismarck gets taken out by the Fletcher. And this leads to a ridiculous situation towards the end of the match, and as you can see, thankfully the Kutuzov was able to save the day, but that's something that just shouldn't have happened. And generally, it's, you don't shy away from a fight and especially when you have the advantage in terms of, you know, the lead against a number of enemies that could be in the same area. Find somebody, buddy up with them, and stick with it, because Jesus, that is important, because that is a match that really just should not have been that close at all. It should have been over a while ago. Booyah, look at that. 2 citadels? Nope. 1 citadel, but 10 overpens, which equals a citadel. So, yeah. I couldn't have just killed him, huh? Now, this is a pretty damn interesting match, because, again, we're going to have a Cyclone, and I think this guy doesn't realize his smoke has gone away. And again, just harping on the fact that I never want to play those ships, because if I forget that, you know, my smoke is gone, the same damn thing is going to happen to me, right? Now, this is a match that I'd pretty much given up on. I thought this one was over a while ago, because we were all just sitting outside of C, and nobody was moving in. And they had taken all 3 caps, and they've had a significant lead throughout the majority of this match. So here I go, thinking that I'm going to get along the flank of these battleships over at C, that those guys are going to push in towards the few guys that remain on my team, just on the outskirts of C. Well, I really couldn't have been more wrong about that. Now, the enemy team has a Moskva on the 2 line, their Benson ends up being at C, as our Gearing finds, and otherwise they have 3 Bismarcks, a Des Moines, Missouri, and a Montana. Want to guess where they all are at? Oh shit, and I really wish I had this one back. You'll understand why at the end when you see the overall damage, but man, I could have done so much more with that salvo, and I just thought I had the angle there, but this is one of the, I think one of the first games I played after the Montana and Iowa Citadel buff, you know, being lowered, and there's so much to shoot at here, but thankfully the one thing that's saving me at the moment is this big ass island, and I just happened to look out, being able to be spotted with this in the way of pretty much me and everybody else. Get a nice hit there against the Bismarck, which is one of my favorite targets to shoot at with the Montana, and taking a look here, I know I'm okay because the turrets are facing the wrong way for the Missouri. Now, that was something I was hoping for, and I was trying to time it out. They just did lose a couple ships, you know, mainly the Montana, which is really good. Now, we've got the Missouri chasing me with the two Bismarcks about to start gunning at me as well, so I unfortunately only get 3 of my turrets there on that Bismarck, but managed to get another 20,000 damage salvo against him, and use my A turret against the lead Bismarck. Now, the Missouri is none too happy with me at the moment, so the problem is you're still rather vulnerable in any given battleship through the rear, because it's just, there's not that much armor there. Now, I have my secondaries going crazy all over the place. You can see, you know, I'm racking up a decent amount of hits there. I've got 2 fires on me. I'm trying to debate when to use my repair, and there we go. I get another 24k salvo on that Bismarck, so that's pretty substantial amount of damage I've done to these ships here, the last 3 full salvos. Now, I'm trying to just draw this out to where the Missouri keeps opening himself up for my teammates while I handle his teammates, and it seems to be working out pretty well. I managed to get another fire on, at this point I don't even know who the hell I'm hitting with the secondaries, but Bismarck's not paying attention, fire off a full salvo against him, and that Bismarck dies as I hit the other Bismarck for about 12,000 damage, dies to the fires that my secondaries had set to him, so that's awesome. Now, we've got this little destroyer over here, this guy in this Fletcher, and he's doing everything he can to stay alive against this Missouri. Missouri turns away from me, and I'm waiting until he commits with his turrets, not just the ship, but his turrets, and boom, we get another 9,000 damage salvo there, and I'm going to turn a bit here, get my front turrets involved. He did take a torp right there as well, so that's good news, because hopefully he's flooding and that'll get him down faster. Now you can see the problem here. Yeah, turning into the teammate torps. I really didn't have much of a choice at that point, and thankfully he doesn't kill me. So that was one of those situations where I totally understand. I knew I don't blame the guy for hitting me with torps. You know, whatever it happened, I'm still alive. It's all good. But the Cyclone starts to pass. I know exactly where the Moskva is now because he just showed up on the radar. So think ahead, plan ahead, turn the ship, and I'm aiming to where he's showing up on the mini-map. And waiting for it. There he is. Take a shot. I was really skeptical about this because it's so hard to tell sometimes without taking an extra second to look at the speed. But that turned out to be a pretty damn good shot, and put me right at 274,000 damage. Now, he's obviously firing at me, and I'm just saying screw it, throwing caution to the wind, opening my side up a little bit more. The Moskva's pretty solid ship with its AP, but, you know, at this range, who knows what damage he's going to do. I almost take him out right there, and I'm at 285,000 damage, which means if I would have done better with that shot earlier, instead of shooting at the Montana, I may have actually hit 300,000 damage. Finally. Still waiting for that. But unfortunately for me, the game crashed. Yeah. And luckily, I did get somebody to send me the battle results there, so that was really good. Because, you know, can't see the stats afterwards when you crash. But last note here as we watch a clip from literally a year ago. I have left OBG, and it didn't really make sense for me to be in the clan anymore. I just focus on solo play, and I don't really care to be involved in anybody else's clan either. You know, it's just one of those things that, yeah, it didn't make any sense. I don't even have TeamSpeak installed anymore, so I just don't care about that aspect of multiplayer gaming anymore. So, either way, thanks for watching today. Hope you have a good one. Enjoy patch 6.8 in the Dunkirk mission, and I'll see you back here next time. Take care, everybody.